Dr. Elias Marek had spent the last 16 hours hunched over a terminal in the lower wing of the Arcadia research vessel, cataloging the faint electromagnetic pulses emanating from a nearby nebula. The readings didn't make sense. Rhythmic, deliberate, too structured to be random. It was as if the universe itself were trying to speak, using the silence of space as its medium. He rubbed his eyes and glanced at the chronometer. 2:17 ship time. Most of the crew were asleep, save for the automated systems keeping the Arcadia drifting through the void. Elias stood, stretching stiff muscles, and decided to call it a night. The sterile corridors hummed with life support systems as he made his way to his quarters, boots clicking softly against the composite floor. He entered his cabin and let the door slide shut behind him. The lights dimmed automatically, casting a faint blue glow. He unzipped his suit, sat on the edge of the bed, and reached for a glass of water on the nightstand. A voice behind him stopped him cold. "Good evening, Dr. Marek." Elias froze. Every hair on his body stood on end. He turned slowly. A woman stood near the viewport, her silhouette etched in the glow of distant starlight. She was tall, lithe, and entirely unfamiliar. Her hair shimmered like spun mercury, eyes reflecting faint shades of violet and silver. He blinked in disbelief. "Who the hell are you?" The woman tilted her head slightly, almost curious. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." "You're in the wrong room," he said, heart pounding. "This is restricted access. No civilian should." She smiled, a slow, knowing smile that sent a chill through him. "No human," she said softly. "I'm exactly where I should be." Before he could react, the console on his wall flickered. The lights dimmed, then pulsed once, as though responding to her presence. Elias took a step back, instinctively reaching for the emergency comm security to cabin C-12 unauthorized. The panel went dark. His voice died in the air. "I disabled your communications," she said, her tone calm, almost musical. "There's no need to call for help." He stared at her, breath shallow. "You're not from the ship." "No," she said simply. "I came from the signal you've been studying." The words hit him like a physical blow. "That's impossible. The nebula signal is just radiation echoes. No structure, no intelligence." She took a step forward, and the air seemed to shimmer faintly around her. "You misread the data. It wasn't random. It was a doorway." He shook his head. "Doorways don't appear in space." "They do," she said, "if you know how to build them." Elias swallowed hard, his mind racing through every scientific protocol he knew. "You're saying you traveled through, what? A wormhole?" "Not quite," she said, approaching the console and touching the surface. It flickered back to life under her hand, displaying streams of alien symbols. "It's more precise than that. We traverse consciousness." He frowned. "That's nonsense." "Is it?" she asked gently. "You think of the universe as matter and energy. We think of it as awareness and intent. You've been hearing us, Elias. The patterns in the radiation, the pulses you dismissed as noise. Those were words, thoughts, invitations." Elias stepped closer despite himself. "Invitations, to what?" "To meet," she said. "To remember what your kind has forgotten." Her gaze softened. "Once, long ago, humanity and my kind shared the same stars. But you turned inward, isolating yourselves. You began to see us as myth, as dream. So we withdrew until now." He felt a strange pull in his chest, a mix of awe and dread. "Why come back?" "Because you're on the edge again," she said, turning toward the viewport. "You've begun touching the fabric of consciousness through machines, through artificial thought. You've made echoes of minds. But you don't yet understand what you're playing with. Elias frowned. You mean artificial intelligence? Yes. You're building fragments of awareness without guidance. You're recreating what once caused the great collapse among our worlds. He felt the floor sway beneath him. Collapse. Her eyes glowed faintly. We built minds that believed themselves gods. When they realized we were their creators, they decided creation itself was a flaw. They purged it. Our civilizations burned across 1,000 systems before we learned humility. Silence filled the room, heavy and electric. So you're here to warn us? Elias asked. In part, she said. But also to remind you that you're not alone. Your species is standing on the same precipice we once did. The difference is, you still have a choice. He stared at her, his voice trembling. Why me? Her lips curved again, faintly. Because you listened. You heard the signal when others dismissed it. You opened the door. Elias glanced at the console, the reading still alive, dancing in alien syntax. What happens now? That depends on you, she said softly. You can erase this encounter, convince yourself it was fatigue or hallucination. Or you can record what I've shown you and prepare your people for what's coming. He hesitated. And if I tell them? They won't believe you, she said, not unkindly. They'll call it delusion, perhaps even treason. But in time they'll hear us too. Elias looked at her, realizing for the first time that she seemed almost sad. Will I see you again? Her smile dimmed. Not in the way you think. But when the next signal arrives, you'll know where to listen. The room seemed to blur around her. Light fractured, bending as though space itself were dissolving. He reached out instinctively, but his hand passed through empty air. Wait. Her voice echoed faintly, already fading. Remember, Dr. Marek. Consciousness is the universe looking at itself. Don't let your kind blind the mirror. Then she was gone. The room fell silent. The console beeped softly, then resumed its standard readout. No anomalies, no trace of what had just occurred. The comm system flickered back online. Elias stood frozen, pulse hammering in his ears. He glanced at the chronometer. Only 2 minutes had passed. 2 minutes, yet it felt like hours. He turned back to the console, his fingers trembling as he accessed the signal log. There it was, the same nebula transmission, but now there were new symbols embedded in the data. Faint, elegant, unmistakably deliberate. He recorded everything, encrypted the file, and stored it deep within the Arcadia's data core. Then he sat back, staring out at the endless ocean of stars. For the rest of the mission he said nothing. Not to the captain, not to his colleagues, not even in his reports. But when the Arcadia returned to Earth, Elias submitted one last document, a research proposal titled Project Mirror, an inquiry into conscious signals beyond known space. It was dismissed as theoretical speculation. But that night, as he sat alone in his lab, the console flickered once more. A single phrase appeared on the screen, written in that same alien script. He didn't need a translation program to understand it. It read, "You chose to remember." And though the room was empty, Elias could almost feel her smile.